This video is going to be about nothing. A few things. I got books behind me. I have a lot of books. I have a whole lot of books, big library. You guys ever notice that it's not really Captain America? It's actually Captain Puerto Rico? Cheers, right? Anyway, let's see here. Stephen King's book Insomnia. It's a good book. I like Stephen King. It's about a guy whose wife dies. He's elderly, and he starts to see auras around people that define them in different ways. Good book. Next we have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You might know that this was made into a movie with Jack Nicholson in the mid-'70s that won a lot of Academy Awards, including Nurse Ratched. The book's a little different than the movie. It's basically a counterculture book and about what people do via the counterculture that get them put in different ominous situations. Next one is The Stand. Now, this book is huge. This is the unabridged version, 1,200 pages. I read this twice. That's how damn good it is. I recommend you read it if you get the chance or have the time. Next, we have a book called Ender's Game. This is the shitty movie cover one, whatever. I read it far before it was a movie. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing book. One of my favorites. The sequel, though, is a bit better. We got more Stephen King here. It's a book called Rose Matter. It's about a neighborhood that goes crazy because they think aliens might be invading. Let's keep going. Alright, this one's called Firestarter. Stephen King book. You might know that it was made into a movie with Drew Barrymore when she was a kid. It's about a little girl that can start things on fire with her mind. It's crazy. Stephen King's The Langoliers. This is a good one. I read this book when I was in high school. They made a shitty miniseries about it. It's about some people on an airplane that go to like a different dimension while they're asleep and there's nothing there and these big monsters come eat everything. Gotta read it yourself. Finders Keepers, more Stephen King. As you can tell, he's my favorite author. This one is an interesting book. It's a newer one. It's about a guy that kills an author because he was mad at how the author ended a novel, a series of novels. And he takes all the money and stuff from this author and he buries them. Gets caught, put in prison. And then a couple years later, a kid's family moves in nearby and this kid finds all the money and all the books. It's about what he does with them. Very, very good. Let's keep going. Pet Cemetery. Definitely read this book. I've read all these. Pet Cemetery was made into a movie in the 80s that was better than the remake they made not too long ago. It's about a family that moves into a new place and they find a cemetery not too far away where they bury animals and they seem to come back to life. Kind of creepy. Creepier when they start burying people there. Jack Kerouac's On the Road. If you know anything about literature, you know about this book. My aunt was a literature professor at New York University, and she gave me this book a little while ago. I believe she even, to Michael. I hope, it's hard to read cursive. It's more hard to read cursive than it used to be, but to Michael, Jack Kerouac lies best for all eternity. It's a book called On the Road. All I can say is if you've ever been to California, you've heard of Big Sur. Read this book. Okay, read this book a long time ago, probably junior high school. It's called Great Expectations. Big book turned into a movie. Ethan Hawke, maybe some pretty girl. It's about people coming essentially from different side of the railroads, if you want to put it that way. And what I mean by different side of the railroads is money and no money, and how those things can get in between relationships and defer relationships. And it's a good book. It's written by Charles Dickens. I would recommend it. This book. This is one of my favorites of all time, actually. This book is called The Count of Monte Cristo. I read this in high school. It's an amazing, amazing book about how money will not buy you everything. How money is not happiness. How money doesn't always bring you happiness. That's all I can really say. It involves a prison break. It takes place in like the 1800s, 1700s, a long time ago. A man who amasses a fortune after his prison break and comes back to try to win the woman who was stolen from him by another man. Good book. Great Gatsby. I read this one in junior high school. You might know this has turned into a pretty big hit with Leonardo DiCaprio. The movie's a little bit different than the book, but ultimately they're pretty close. It's about wealth, glamour, and the fame of the Roaring Twenties, bootlegging, and a mysterious man that gets his money from somewhere. People think it's bootlegging, but they're not quite sure. Now, this book is fucking gnarly. It's called Apt Pupil. It's part of a short stories called Different Seasons, but we're just going to focus on Apt Pupil. Apt Pupil is about a kid in junior high who realizes that a man that moves into the house next to him is a Nazi on the run from the Nuremberg trials. He comes to be obsessed with this Nazi and his stories that he has about the death camps and such terrible things. He comes up with proof that this guy's a Nazi. He has fingerprints, pictures. It's a very intense book. I'm not really trying to get political here, but this book, Atlas Shrugged, by a woman named Ayn Rand, is you could call it a classic. It is based on what you could call libertarian policies, ideologies. It's about some people that want to start an island world of their own with no regulations, rules, things like that. You know, you're if you know anything about politics, your libertarian philosophy. This book I haven't read yet, but I found it at the DI the other day, and I'm excited. It's called Zombies in Calculus, right? I know shit jack about calculus, but I mean, somehow these equations will help us in the zombie apocalypse. This book I found the other day at the Savers. It is called Secrets of the Secret Service. It's about some things that have happened with different political administrations in America, in the White House. One of them that I found very funny in this book was that it talks about the Clinton presidency. Once again, I'm not trying to get any politics here, but I guess that they got pretty damn redneck when they would fight with each other. Really damn redneck. Keep this going. Now, this book is written by Mr. Matthew Mcconaughey. It's called Green Lights. It's kind of like a book about inspirational quotes from him and how he lives his life and such. You know, he has things in here like little notes he's taken throughout the years and things like that. Like I'm headed to the moon in a spaceship with no pilot's license. Good stuff like that. Great guy. This one I picked up at the DI the other day. It's called 99 Things to Do When You Have the Time. Now, what I found interesting about this book was that somebody wrote inside of it, Merry Christmas. I love you so much, and I'm so proud of all that you've done. You are so beautiful, so kind, and badass. XOXO Caitlin. Now, it's unfortunate that no one ever used this book, as every page is blank. And it's 99 Things to Do When You Have Time. So, random page says, name the movie you most want to see yet, but haven't. We've got examine a nearby thing. Who made it? How? And from what? I have some spiced rum right here. It was made by Bacardi. That's what we'll look at. Okay. Now this might be controversial, but believe me, I love history as much as the next person. This is a book called History and Hitler, an Illustrated Life. It's quite fascinating, actually, because when I found this book, it was $2, and if you listen to it, it hasn't been opened yet. The pages still crinkle and crack. It says it comes with a 45-minute DVD documentary, so I opened that and looked at it, and it is still sealed. It's never been opened. And I noticed it's in PAL format. It's in America, we usually use NTSC. What's more interesting is in the back, it says in the UK only, which means that, as far as I can tell, this book was somehow bought in the UK, made its way over here somehow instead of Utah and into a Desert Industries thrift shop. Quite fascinating, actually, for $2. I read this book in elementary school because I did martial arts and got my black belt and this kind of stuff you had to do. It is called The Book of Five Rings. It is about a martial artist. I believe it was in Okinawa or Japan. Miyamoto Musashi. He talks about what life was like back then and fighting was like back then. One thing that really stood out to me was that at the beginning he talks about between the ages of 6 and 80-ish, he never lost one fight. Can you guess what that was? Because he wouldn't have been alive to write the book if he'd ever lost one fight. This is an interesting book. Once again, I don't want to get into politics, but this guy's name was Clinton. He was president for a while. It's a big book. And he was a smart guy. He's a Rhodes Scholar, stuff like that. You probably know what happened with him and his family in the future after that. Life's 100 events that shook our world. Let's go to a random page and see what we find. Page number 1945. Hiroshima. The war in Europe was over, but in the Pacific, despite almost certain defeat, Japanese defenders were making the ultimate sacrifice rather than give up. I love books. Graphical good ones from life are great too because I really miss life. The complete encyclopedia of beer. That's right. I really like beer. I don't talk much about beer alcohol, but I love beer so much. Great hops, great barley. Beer is the shit. Well, it's not made out of shit, but let's see. Ham Radio for Dummies. As you can see, I haven't finished it yet. Got some place notes. I got to about the part where it talks about during World War II, packet switching was invented by a lady, I forget her name, who used it as a method. She was a ham enthusiast, early ham enthusiast, who used packet switching as a method so that I believe it was torpedoes from submarines couldn't be locked onto and destroyed along the wind or water, where they were switching packets back and forth so that the Axis could not keep up with the Allies' torpedoes because they were frequency hopping, so to speak. I picked up this one 2 years and going Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. Yeah, one of my favorite towns in the world. I love it. It's called Banksy in New York. Several years ago, Banksy did a film on HBO called Banksy New York, where he went to New York every day for a month. And every day, every night, he put on some big paintings, some big show, and everybody was trying to find out where they were. Let's go to a random page and see what we find. Okay. October 4th. Lay Williamsburg Bushwhack. It looks to me like he did some of his stencil drawings that he's known for doing. There's like a little rat with a peace sign, gangster around him, a bunch of things with rats going on. If you don't know who Banksy is, I am sorry. He is a very prolific artist, and he might be the best artist alive right now, at least graffiti-wise, street-wise. Okay, the next book's going to do technology and things that I went through school for. Photoshop 7. Remember back when you could buy individual copies of Photoshop and didn't have to fucking subscribe? I do. Oh, good old Pascal. Now that was some high school shit. Jesus, I do not miss Pascal. Microsoft Basic. If you don't know Basic, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry, but MS-DOS Basic was just so easy. Okay. WordPerfect 5.1. How old is this book? Uh, 1990 it looks like. Old book. Okay, here we have the technical general class license manual for radio amateur ham license. This is an old book. This is my dad's. Apparently my father, when I was younger, was the president of the local chapter of Ham Radio Fanatics. Interesting, right? There's another one. 200 meters down in the story of amateur radio. That's interesting stuff. I really need to get my license. Here's more about ham radio. It's called Tune Into the World. It's an old one. Interesting stuff. Now this is the de facto reference to, once again, DOS. MS-DOS. I don't know if everybody remembers DOS. I remember DOS and the good old 486s and whatnot. Playing chess and some other cool shit like that. Some World War II games. LucasArts games were fun. This was not my favorite book. A+ for Dummies. There's over 1,100 pages in here. I'm going to throw this one down. some more old books. My father's computer peripherals that you can build. Actually, this is kind of neat. I should look into this a little more. So it really starts with your basic diagrams and goes from there. And the peripherals that you can build involving circuitry, electronics, mathematics, quite interesting stuff. Okay, this takes me back to high school. I believe it was HTML4, creating web pages for dummies. I remember when I was in high school, one of my computer science classes, the teacher said, okay, I need you guys all to make a website, dummy website. So, you pull up Notepad and type in some HTML. What my website was, though, and I ended up winning for this, was pretty neat. I went to the school's website and took copied pictures of all the teachers. And then I put together an HTML website via Notepad where you could use a drop-down box to select which teacher you wanted to see and it would show a picture of them, and then like a little informal survey and question poll, whatever, where you could click which teacher you liked the most, and then at the end of everybody taking it would see which teacher won was the most popular. I won that contest. Oh boy. This is what I was talking about. Here's more HTML for dummies. Yeah, in high school I was really interested in programming. My goal in high school actually was back in the day, late 90s, early 2000s. I wanted to be a programmer for IMDb.com, the Internet Movie Database. Moved to Seattle and programmed for them. They were bought by Amazon. They're not quite the same. This is the last one I'm going to show you guys, I think. And this is my older A+ guide to hardware. CompTIA, right? You have to recertify this, and I have it for quite some time, so mine's out. But that's what I've got for now. Do you know that all polar bears are left-handed? Left paw, I guess, right? Is that why they say that? Where is one? Hold the fuck on. Cigarette lighter? These were made before matches. Can you believe that? Now, when you're on an airplane, you lose about 30% of your taste buds for some reason while you're 5 miles high in the sky. Yeah, people say Mile High Club. No, it's the 5 Mile High Club. Get it right. Darts were invented in the 14th century, apparently, as a game for knights and whatnot to play in between war so that they weren't throwing bigger things around. That's a good one. Lastly, did you know that sheep have rectangular pupils? Not like circular like we do. Rectangular pupils. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? And lastly, the 99th letter in pi is 7. This video was shit. Maybe you'll watch it, maybe you won't.